thank you so much, Gustavo, for joining this meeting.
Thank you
And
for the invitation.
yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you today because you're working in one of the most prestigious organizations around the world, FIBA. I don't know how to pronounce like the whole name in English, but I mean everyone knows about the this organization, and of course what are you doing right now with all these prestigious world championships and rebuilding the whole brand. So, but I don't want to take the spotlight away from you. So, could you
No, no,
please
please.
introduce yourself and tell a little bit about your background?
Sure. My name Gustavo Arellano. I was born and raised in Venezuela. I'm formed as chemical engineer. That's how I started. That's how far I started from sports. Actually, my first two works were connected to the oil and gas industry, and then I did a good 3 years in fast movement consumer good (FMCG), and I will say that the privilege I had, it was that in all of these organizations before, I had the opportunity to be very well connected with the commercial area. So I was building my knowledge and I will say the experience in that area, and that's how that I built I will say my commercial experience. And then back in 2015, due to external problems and situation of my country, I decided to move out to Switzerland and to pursue a master degree. It will be, that time was my second master. I was already MBA, and it was a life decision. It was a bet. It was all in, like in poker, we say all in. Put all my savings, all my all everything that I could get from my parents, from friends, and from what at that point was the biggest decision of my career, I would say. And then a new life started back in 2015, and I will say that that's the introduction. Then I guess we can go deeper how that process went in Switzerland. But I would say that after a lot of hard work and a good I would say a big effort on translating the knowledge from before, I was able to connect to the industry that I was pursuing, that you are pursuing, and I guess your guests, your friends are also looking to pursue. And that was the story. I started very far in an area not really connected to sports, and then down the road I understood few things on how this game was different, and how to get into this industry was a totally a different process rather than how I imagined it would be.
Yeah, for sure. And that's precisely one of the most interesting things about your background, and especially your road. You pretty much apply the typically phrase go big or go home. And right now you went really big and far away working for FIBA. And I think that in personal side, it was a big deal, and of course a great challenge. But like more professionally speaking, I would like to know a little bit about what were your biggest challenges when you first arrived in the sports industry.
Okay, the biggest challenge was to arrive, was actually to get in. I have said this story many times, and I'm happy always to share this with the guys doing the master that I did 5 years ago. So every year I go back and do a lecture and tell this story, because I think it gives them a little bit, not only hope, because I don't want to feel that I'm giving hope, but I want to just to relate on a case that it could happen on many of you, which is that I was following the process as good engineer. I was thinking in processes and boxes and A plus B equals C, and then I understood that was a different game. It was an away game. I was coming from a very different, not only background, but also different culture and different industry at the end. And the biggest challenge was to get in. When I say this, I tell the story that I applied many times. I was desperate because, like I told before, I had an amount of money to live in Switzerland. I had a deadline. If I didn't find a job or a way to stay, I would be leaving. In Switzerland, there is no European Union. Even if I was a Spanish passport holder, if I didn't get the job by X date, I was asked to leave the country in a very politically way. So I had a deadline, and that process, that period, those 2 months after finishing my internship, because I did an internship while I was studying, were very difficult. For some people will say, "Oh, 2 months is nothing," and yes, I agree. Sometimes that process could be very long, but I had my deadline. In my process, 2 months was a lot, and I was 2 months on only applying for jobs. And my rate, my final list was close to 40 positions, 38, where I applied day and night. I adjusted the CV, I adjusted the cover letter, I adjusted and I apply. And my CV was reviewed by experts, and my CV was reviewed by professors, my CV was reviewed by friends. The CV was perfect, the application was perfect, but I didn't receive one interview, none, zero. 38 applications, 0 interviews. At that point, I thought it was me. Maybe I'm not that good. Maybe I'm not that worth it. I had a big esteem of my job or what I have accomplished in previous industry. I was very proud of what I have done before, and the understanding I have on my field, again, marketing and the commercial area. But it seems that that message was not going through a CV or through an application, and you name it. Positions at every level, positions in any form. I started, of course, applying to a managerial position, because I came to be regional manager, blah, blah, blah. And then I end up applying for coordinator, executive, internships, everything. 0 interviews, my friend. Zero. Whoa. And yes, that's a point where, if you want to do this at TED Talk, I wanted to jump into the train. No, I was not that bad, because my plan B was to go back to my country. Not the easiest situation, because of course it would be a failure. And I start to see friends or colleagues that were going back, because for them they had a better option home. They had a better plan B. They could continue with their industry, or they had connections with the sports industry back in their countries. So when I start to see all the friends, and this movement of farewell start, and this is leaving, this one is leaving after we all finish the year of the master, because that was a good night, and I think from the master that we all were internationals. We only had one Swiss, so we all in the same boat, but at the same time there was a lot of competition. We were all applying for the same jobs, and when you start to see majority of people leaving, not everybody getting jobs, and people who's getting jobs is actually people who was before connected, then at some point in the process I decided to change the strategy, and it was a conscious decision. Was one day, I would say, after a lot of frustration, I just remember one of the things that one professor said in the first class in the master. I remember now because it was the first day, the first week, all these introductions. That guy said, "How many people you know in Lausanne? How many people you know in the industry?" And we were very proud to say, "Oh, we know 40 guys, all the people in this classroom." And I was very disappointed from that answer, because that was the answer he received every year from the students. And he made the point that because I remember that the class was about networking, and he made the point that to build a network is not as what is commonly known as get a beer or get a shot or get to know a person. That is the first step, and for sure is important. But to really build a network, it's about getting as much endorsement you can about your job. And then I didn't understood that at the time when he said those words. And then when I finished when I finished, when it was during that process, no applications, 40 applications, no interview, I say, okay, this is something that I'm doing wrong, because if I don't get the opportunity to express myself or to showcase that I'm able to perform, then I have a problem. Then if I lost in the interview, I understand. I'm happy to move on, but I was not able to do a fight or to propose a fight on the field. And then at that point, I review during the year who were the people that actually could vouch on my job, who are the people who were close to what I did, and what were those opportunities that the master gave me that, again, At some point, I didn't took a full advantage, but I had some opportunities to demonstrate that my job was good. And then my list of people that could say, "Oh, Gustavo's good," was 3. At the end of that process, I was all the week checking. Okay, this guy could say something. Yes, I'm not the type of guy that will call you, let's take a beer, and are very openly engaging with people that I don't know. I prefer when things are organically, are naturally, and there's everything in this world. And I'm sure in your class or for your teammates, there were always people that are, for them it's easier to establish conversation from nothing, and from other people it's not that simple. I'm in that second group, and but when you had that relation, when you did a job, when you already reported something and they faced what you were capable to do, I was able to rehook with these people. And I had the meeting with the three persons that in somehow they were able to see my job. And out of those 3, 2 not offer me something, but they opened a door, because they were able to say that what I was doing was good. And one of those doors was a FIBA internship. And that was their way to start, basically. A person who I did a job for while I was studying the master, it was called the team project. He was connected to the person who's just arrived at FIBA and was rebuilding the marketing team. It was a good coincidence, but it was the person who could say, Gustavo did a good job for me. He could be a valuable asset for you. And my first boss in FIBA, he will never recognize that call, of course, made a difference. Not to get a job, but to get the interview.
Yeah.
And I got my first interview was FIBA. My first interview was FIBA. And I got it. I was ready. I think I was ready to showcase my experience, what I was able to do. I was lucky to have a boss at the time that was very honest and told me, I don't need an intern. I need someone who's able to step in, 0 learning curve, and execute. I will pay you as an intern. I'm sorry, but if you do a good job, you will be able to showcase your job to get a future job, because he was never offering me a position. And I will say that's the first part of the story. And as a recommendation, as I always give to people who are looking to step in the industry, is that it's not this is how the game is played. It's a different condition. It's a different rule. The industry is very small. It's very flat in every position. Now that I'm on the other side, when I've worked, when I've hired people, when I've needed to interview people, where I've opened positions within the organization, and you see 200 people applying, if you see 350 people applying for a position, there is no time to read CVs. There is no time to read 300 applications. And it's frustrating. It's very, very frustrating to be always on the pile of people discarded, because the reality is that among the people discarded and among the people selected, there is always good people. There is always a good amount of good professionals. And what will make a difference in such a small industry, in my opinion, and then based on my experience and based on the federative world, I will say, because that's where I will scope my experience, because I guess in football clubs or in other countries might be so different, but so far with the people I've talked about this in different regions, it's more or less the same. The industry is very flat. It's very flat. We're very few. And an endorsement, a recommendation, a proof of concept, a proof of an idea already implemented will deserve the risk. Will be worth it. The call for an interview will be worth to review and to check and to stay in contact. So in my opinion, and this is my personal view, CVs, online applications, those are for very specific positions with very specific skill set. In my case, commercial area is very broad. Everybody have very good experience. Everybody can be a very good candidate. So this is not an exam where you can score 100 and you get an applause. This is a race. You need to win. You need to beat another person or another group of persons, and normally those people are very good. So again, I believe as a part of that challenge, what I learned is that to get I don't believe in the dream job. I think that the dream job, you need to build it. It's nothing that you get on the first try. You need to build it for you. And in that first step of building that, you need support. You need an external, you need someone who can vouch for you. And that person hopefully is a decision maker, not necessarily to hire you, but to give the opportunity for you to perform. And that opportunity will come normally by doing your job, by volunteering, by offering your services, sometimes for free, sometimes for a decent value, sometimes just to add value, just to try new ideas, just to implement new things. And I personally believe those are the best, that those are better guns to go to this type of fight than a good CV or a perfect cover letter. That's and then just sorry that it took some time, but to answer your question,
That's okay.
The challenge was just to step in. Once you're inside, there's another fight, but I think everybody will be comfortable to perform because it's on you. It depends on you, and that will be the second part of the story. But I think just the first one, which I believe is the more important, is just to receive the opportunity to formally be part of the industry, to formally be on that side, and how to get the best of it when you receive that chance.
Great, amazing, Gustavo. It is quite interesting because you're taking two of the most common recommendations, or maybe advices about how to step in the industry, which is basically networking and showing your value, providing value with your work. And in that point, my final questions will be first, what do you see as a hiring manager usually when someone is applying to your area? What are the main skill sets that you take into consideration? For example, let's talk about just the soft skills. What do you look for applicants?
This is very well connected to the culture of my organization. I cannot speak for all marketing units because every organization have a different culture. In my case, we have looked for a team spirit, people who can really do the work, and they don't care to be today seated there beside the secretary general or the president of one country, and then the next day being on the ground and put the mascot on top and go to the ground and give some water to people. I think when there is a specific profile on people that are able to do that wide range of stuff. When you really work hard and you can play hard too. We like people who have that level of personality. So I think the team spirit is key. And second is people who's ready to add value. It's people who are not afraid to say, okay, this is what I believe. It is not working right, and I can change it. Because we have not the luxury, at least from basketball in our industry, and we don't have budget to get a team, a new resource, a new assets to learn the process and spend 1 year exploring what is going on, and then to add value. If someone has a clear concept and a clear mindset, and we can already have a chat and say, okay, this is not very nice at what you're doing at FIBA, and you should start to do this. Yes, come and start to do, and you can do yourself. And this is a wide simplification of things, but this is what it's way more interesting to look for profiles who are ready to perform, and they have a clarity on how they can perform and how they can add value. I always say, don't offer your passion. Passion is a commodity. Everybody's passionate about sports, and everybody's passionate about basketball, everybody's passionate about football, and whatever sport you are. That won't give you the job. That won't make you different. Everybody's passionate about it, and that's great. But that's not a differentiator. The differentiator will be what you can add from your expertise. What is what you can change in the sport? What is what you can do better? What is you can propose to adjust based on the fact that there is a lot to do in the industry. We need a lot of professionals. We are flat, it's small, it's growing, and more professionals are needed, more and more professionals are joining, but we need professionals that are ready to perform. So I will say that that's what we look. People with a clear mindset, ready to also adapt and also be flexible, because from federations, I always say that the job will come with a quota of frustration, because it moves at a certain pace. It's not as fast as we would like, but yes, I think that level of attitude, being positive, being patient, and that combination of soft skills are very important. Then the rest, and again in marketing and specifically in the commercial area, the hard skills are easy to get in the way. Those are more connected to how the organization perform, what is the model, what is the structure, and those in very little amount of time you will be able to grasp. But the soft skills, you cannot make someone creative in 2 weeks. You cannot make someone willing to perform in 2 weeks and ready to perform in any form in 2 weeks. So I think that's and actually when we do the balance, soft skills, again, our team, FIBA, our unit, soft skills are way more than hard skills. Except if we're not looking for IT people, but if FIBA looks for an IT person, for sure hard skill will weigh more. But in our team, soft skills are very important and are more important than the hard one, actually.
Okay. So, any additional comments just to finish the interview?
Well, work hard. I think I understood before coming to sports that your work won't speak for you. You need to speak with your work. So it's good to be modest, but it's also very important to always think how your work can be having an impact. If your work is not having an impact in any form, it's difficult to demonstrate the value that you have, even if you have value. So that's always important. I will share the second part, a little bit of the second part of my story. My first day at FIBA, I'm very excited. I got the internship. I thought that is my step into the door, like we say in Spanish. I'm just in, and then I'll fight for this. And the first day, the lady who received me said, "Yeah, I see you're very excited." I said, "Yeah, I was excited." But I have to tell you that before you, we had 6 interns. So this is not a position where you normally stay because there is no headcount. So think on how to build your position to look something outside. Wow, that was devastating. That was my first day of work. And it was not easy, and was for in the good side, I had 6 months to demonstrate. It was not a short internship of 3 months. At that moment, I was regretting that because the salary was terrible. But the 6 months actually gave me a good time to demonstrate that, to look for projects and to look for I would say to set up the scenario to perform and to demonstrate and to get those endorsements internally to support the idea, because at the time it was an idea, to keep me in the team. And that was it. That's how I then moved as a part of the team, and then in 4 years growing and today on the position I have. But think always strategically. Don't always try to, as an advice, do a step back. Who's watching your job? How your job is making an impact? How that is perceived in the final report of the year of your department or your company? How many lines are you in that final report? Are you part of it? Are you part of 1 number, 3 numbers, 6 numbers? As much as you have an impact there, you will have a value within the organization and you will be able to grow. And again, working hard, you will be able to find out those. It's not simple. It's a lot of trials until you get it. And every organization works differently. So get as many references you can from every organization, and where you feel more comfortable, because I think that's key. And again, my plan was not to do basketball or to do a sport. Again, my plan was never connected to a sport particularly. Even my sport was football. My passion was football. I was clear on that side that I needed to work on marketing. This is where I work. This is where I add value. And basketball have been a very good place to demonstrate and to implement and to generate results, which is ultimately the objective of our work.
Yeah, amazing. I can say that I always say that your Twitter account it's a must follow account.
Thank you.
Yeah, because you have valuable information and also on your LinkedIn profile. And yeah, definitely. Finally, if you want to share your social media accounts.
For sure. I normally do it in Spanish because I think the concept of my social network is to share information with Latin America. I feel a commitment with my region to step up and to close the gap. So what I've tried to do is every time I see something interesting or something to discuss or something valuable to think and implement in South America, I try to share, even though my scope of work is not South America. This is like the concept, but it's at G Arellano with double L _ MD. MD, the idea at the beginning was sports marketing, like in Spanish, but then it became like this is the doctor thing in the US, so I eventually will change. But for now, this is the handler. And in LinkedIn, it's Gustavo Arellano Jorge. So you can find me there, and happy always to connect and to support and in those processes. I was on the other side looking for a job. It's not easy. You need the patience, but you need a strategy. You need a goal, and you need to implement the strategy. And I think this situation, everybody sees it as it's true. It's hitting us. It's hitting the industry. It's hitting many industry. But it's exactly like when you are playing football and it's raining. It's affecting both sides. It's not only affecting you, it's also affecting the employer. So it's actually a good moment to come with ideas, to maybe it's the right moment to implement something that you thought many times or many years ago, and now this is the chance to implement, because we're avid to listen new ideas and to try new things. So if you're creative enough, this is actually your chance to perform. And if you see it that way, I think this disruption, because it is and will be a disruption, can be actually a good opportunity for many people to demonstrate their value. Whereas in the past, they had to fight against the status quo. Now the status quo is broke. So I actually believe there is a big opportunity to demonstrate, not necessarily for everybody to join, because the industry is actually shrinking. It won't grow as it was expected, but it will change. It will change something. So for people who is outside or looking to be inside, those checks are good. So if you take that angle, I think you can get benefited from it.
Well, amazing. Thank you so much, Gustavo, for your time. And I really appreciate all the insights and all the information that you provide today to the audience. And we will keep in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you for work hard, and if anything I can support, I will. And please continue doing this type of initiative, because I think sharing information is key. And as long as we can support each other during this, not only this situation, but in general as a community, we will be able to grow in a healthy way. Thank you very much.
Thank you.